What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got the 2011 NFL Draft. Was one of the best of all time. Let's check this out.
The NFL Draft takes place each and every year, and during the three-day event in late April, we often hear that we'll know how this class will turn out in about 3 years. It shouldn't come as a surprise that some draft classes are better than others. And during the pre-draft process, you'll hear the word generational tossed around far too often about prospects in hopes that the said player will be the best player at his position in a few
said the same thing about Trevor Lawrence.
Overall draft class,
you know what I'm saying?
It is not an exaggeration.
Hasn't really panned out that much. Like, Trevor Lawrence not been like horrible, but he ain't been, so what everybody expected him to be.
Was not just generational, but legendary. It had it all. Each of the first 7 picks in the 2011 draft were Pro Bowlers, and each of the first 6 picks were multiple-time Pro Bowlers.
Okay.
And 5 of the first 6 picks were all first-team All-Pros at some point in their career. This class has a regular season MVP, a Super Bowl MVP, a plural, multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year award winner.
Hey, I don't care what anybody say, bro. J.J. Watt got robbed the MVP, bro.
With over 10,000
he got robbed the MVP.
Yards, and not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5 players with over 100 career sacks. And quite simply, this class had it all. And in today's video, we're going to break down just how legendary the 2011 draft class was. Wow. And before we get started, I do want to thank
I'm surprised Cam Hayward ain't got 100 sacks
to create this video and for allowing me to be a part of the Creator Access Pass. It means a lot and is very humbling. And without further ado, let's begin.
All right.
And we are starting today's video by discussing the #1 pick in the draft in Auburn's Cam Newton. Newton was one of the most athletically gifted quarterbacks in NFL history, and he was an incredibly fun player to watch in his prime. He started his NFL career off with back-to-back 420-plus passing yard games, and I remember specifically after the Week 2 game against the Packers in 2011 that a prime Aaron Rodgers, who was on his way to having a 45-6 touchdown interception season, said that Cam would be a problem once he figured out how to win. And in his rookie year, and this is not an exaggeration for the younger audience who may not remember, Cam had over 4,700 yards of total offense and 35 total touchdowns.
Yeah, those interceptions, they up there, but, so you can't really expect a rookie to play perfect his rookie season.
Now, I know the Pro Bowl in 2025 does not have the meaning it once did, but a 4,700 total yards...
for Pro Bowl nowadays, just a popularity award for All Pros is the real award.
Cam also won the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. He had success in each of his next 3 seasons, including another trip to the Pro Bowl in 2013, and in a year where the Panthers went 12-4, Cam had another good season and made the Pro Bowl. Despite losing in the divisional round in 2013, everything came together in 2015 as the Panthers went 15-1, and Cam Newton had 45 total touchdowns, including a 35-10 TD to INT ratio, which was by far the best of his career, and he won the MVP. Unfortunately, the Panthers lost in the Super Bowl to the Broncos, and believe it or not, the #2 pick in this class in Von Miller was the Super Bowl MVP. We'll get to Von in a minute, but out of the 4 quarterbacks...
all because Cam Newton didn't want to jump on the football, bro.
The other 3 were Jake Locker, who went to the Titans, Blaine Gabbert, who went to the Jags, and Christian Ponder, who went to the Vikings. Cam was everything the Panthers could have hoped for and more as he helped turn a franchise around, and they legitimately felt that anytime Cam was on the field, they had a chance to win. Despite Cam winning an MVP and making multiple Pro Bowls, he actually doesn't have the most passing yards or touchdowns from this class, as that belongs to Andy Dalton. And we'll get to the Bengals 2011 draft class in a minute, but before we do, it's time to go back to Von Miller. Whenever we talk about players in their primes and talk about
what team y'all think Von Miller gonna sign with before the start of the season?
That didn't apply to
as a Raiders fan, I wouldn't mind him, you know what I'm saying, on a vet minimum deal.
Was a second-team All-Pro.
But he's definitely not the same player he used to be.
As well as a pick 6 and was a first-team All-Pro. And he finished second in the Defensive Player of the Year voting to, you guessed it, another 2011 draftee in J.J. Watt, who had a downright insane 39 tackles for a loss and 20.5 sacks as he was on his way to his first of 3 DPOYs. Von only played 9 games in 2013, but from 2014 through 2018, he had perfect attendance as he played in all 80 games. He was a 5-time All-Pro with 2 more first-team appearances, had 63 sacks, 14 forced fumbles, and the most important of all, a Super Bowl MVP on what was one of the best defenses of all time. Von's peak was incredible, and the future Hall of Famer is a 7-time All-Pro and has 129.5 career sacks. And for those who may not remember, the pre-draft hype for Von was really high. And anytime you were drafted either first or second overall as a pass rusher, you were expected to be a franchise-changing player.
Oh my gosh, bro, that spin move was nasty.
Overall as a pass rusher,
oh
you
my
were expected to be a franchise-changing player.
Oh
Von Miller
shit.
was exactly that. Buffalo had the 3rd pick, and they used it on the big fella from Alabama in Marcel Darius. I personally think Marcel is a player that doesn't get talked about enough for how much.
Yeah, this is my first time hearing about him. I ain't gonna lie.
He was a really good run defender and even made the Pro Bowl twice during his 9-year career and was a first-team All-Pro in 2014. He anchored the Bills' defense for the first several years of his career before eventually being traded to the Jags during the 2017 season. Unfortunately for Darius, he is a part of a legendary draft class that had a lot of productive defensive players, and he also played a position that Aaron Donald played, who entered the NFL whenArius was in year 4.
I mean, it's not really a bad career in Buffalo, gang. 35 sacks for defensive lineman.
Contribute as to why Darius is discussed as a part of the 2010s, probably as much as he should be. He was also in an era with guys like Geno Atkins, Calais Campbell, and Ndamukong Suh, and you get the point. But Darius was a really good defensive tackle, and there was a reason they signed him to a near $100 million contract extension, which was huge at the time. Now, for the Bengals, they had one of the best draft classes in the franchise's history, as they selected
I hated this
Green and
nigga.
Andy Dalton with the first 2 picks.
Oh my gosh, bro.
Obviously with Joe
like
Burrow
every time we played the Bengals, this motherfucker want to act like he Randy Moss and shit.
One of the best
like, bro,
in franchise history.
Always
AJ
fine.
Green started his career with 7 straight Pro Bowls and nearly started his career off with 7 straight 1,000-yard seasons, as he had 964 yards in 2016 in just 10 games. I would argue the biggest pitfall for AJ Green in his NFL career was being in the same draft class as Julio Jones and ultimately having his peak.
And AJ Green, he really doesn't get talked about enough, bro. Like, real shit.
Antonio Brown and even Odell Beckham Jr. What is unfortunate for Adriel Jeremiah is
AJ Green is definitely like
picks after him was one of
probably
the
top 10, top 15 of best receivers in NFL history.
Career with
like,
over
no
10,000
bullshit.
yards, 2 second-team All-Pros, and 6 1,000-yard seasons. Now, for Andy Dalton, he's still active and just finished his 14th NFL season. Sure, he's bounced around over the past 5 years, as after his time in Cincinnati, he played for the Cowboys, the Bears, even the Saints for a year, and now the Panthers for each of the last 2 seasons. But the Bengals took a chance on Andy Dalton in the 2nd round, and he made 3 Pro Bowls during his time in Cincinnati, and I know Joe Burrow is a much better player than Andy Dalton, obviously, but Andy took the Bengals to the playoffs in each of his first 5 seasons and had 50 wins in 5 years as their starting quarterback. He wasn't a top 10 pick or a number 1 overall pick, but a guy selected in the 2nd round, and as of now, he's 26th in both passing yards and passing touchdowns all time.
In my opinion, like nowadays, bro, you see like later round like picks, like quarterbacks and shit be better than the first round guys.
With guys like Brady, Manning, Breeze, and Rodgers. But for Cincinnati to draft both Andy Dalton and AJ Green, and even draft an offensive lineman in the 4th round who would go on to start for 7 seasons for them in Clint Bowling, was a tremendous haul for the Cincinnati Bengals. Patrick Peterson was the 5th overall pick, and Pat Pete started his career with 8 straight Pro Bowls and was a member of the 2010s All-Decade team. He was also a very dynamic.
Is he retired now?
Early in his career, as he had 4
I don't think he played last year
in his rookie year, one of which was an overtime game winner against the then St. Louis Rams.
This was cold. This is probably like his most iconic moment. I ain't gonna lie.
In the past 15 years, and he more than proved the Cardinals right, as he was also a 3-time first-team All-Pro. There was a point where the Cardinals periodically tried to incorporate him into the offense, as he had 6 receptions during the 2013 season, and even carried the football a couple of times too. Peterson was a highly sought-after draft prospect, and he was a franchise cornerstone for a long time in the desert.
20
Peterson
teams
played
all
for a
decade
team
teams,
that did not
28
have a lot
picks.
of success outside of the 2015
First ballot Hall of
season,
Famer,
which
bro.
they went to the NFC Championship game, and a special shout out to Larry Fitzgerald for the big play in the divisional round against the Packers. But Peterson was undoubtedly one of the best corners from his era, along with fellow NFC West rival Richard Sherman, who was also a part of the 2011 draft class.
Damn!
Richard Sherman didn't play as long as Pat Pete, but his impact was significant as he had a tremendous 4-year stretch between 2012 and 2015, and he is the most known player from Seattle's Legion of Boom.
Some people be disrespecting Richard Sherman like he won't that nigga, bro.
and was a second-team All-Pro in 2015.
Like, I don't understand
the
the Richard Sherman disrespect nowadays.
His trash talking and being able to back up the trash talking and being one of the biggest tone setters at the corner position we've seen this century. One of, by the way, not the biggest, as I'm not throwing shade at Darrelle Revis by any means. Sherm had back-to-back 8 interception seasons in 2012 and 2013 and made a play known as the Immaculate Deflection in the 2013 NFC Championship game, which sent Seattle to their first Super Bowl appearance since 2005.
Cold, I ain't gonna lie.
There was a point in Sherman's prime where teams didn't
that
even
boy
bother
Crabtree
throwing
and
his
Sherman
way.
was
He
always
that
going
good.
at it, bro.
The Legion of Boom allowed the fewest passing yards in the NFL in 2013, and they absolutely dismantled the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl with an MVP-winning Peyton Manning, who had just thrown 55 touchdowns with
throw
a
some
score
snow?
of 43-8. There's draft classes that don't have Hall of Famers, and there's draft classes that may only have one Hall of Famer, but it's extremely rare to have 2 corners in the same class that will probably get inducted in Canton within a few years of this video. And Richard Sherman and Patrick Peterson, to me, are both Hall of Fame players. Now, I'll be honest, as an analyst in their mid-20s, I know Julio Jones' numbers do not compare with the all-time greats, as he's 27th.
I don't give a fuck. He's still a first ballot Hall of Fame.
And tied for 61st in touchdowns all time, as touchdowns were always tough for Julio.
This
but
nigga was so unguardable,
the definition
bro.
of a player.
I wish he could have got his ring, man.
How special he was.
The Falcons want to fiddle dick around in the Super Bowl up 28-3.
1,022 yards.
Like, how do you blow that?
He barely clears the number.
Oh my gosh, what a
Each
catch!
of Julio's 1,000-yard seasons were all 1,198 yards
Julio
or
was
more, and
different,
I kind of feel
man.
bad for Julio that he couldn't get 2 more yards in 2012 to have 7 1,200-yard seasons. But if you ask any fan that remembers watching him play from the 2012 to 2019 span, he was an animal. The 2015 season between him and Antonio Brown going back and forth was incredibly fun.
Oh my god, look at this oh my gosh. Oh, look at this fucking stretch right here, gang. 1,500, 1,800, 1,400, 1,400, 1,600, almost 1,400 yards again. Like, the touchdowns weren't only there, but, bro, this nigga was damn near unguardable, gang. Like, oh my gosh.
136 receptions for 1,871 yards and 8 touchdowns. He was obviously a first-team All-Pro, and I am not using this video to talk about where he ranks all-time, because, again, the numbers do not do Julio justice, but to have 6 seasons of 1,394 yards or more is ridiculous, and Julio also had 5 seasons of 1,400 yards or more. Your best bet in his prime was to double him and hope you could slow him down.
And even that didn't help.
People like to use the phrase "I'm him" when they make a play in today's era, but everyone knew it. Julio was him in his prime, and he has one of the best plays that's also, unfortunately, one of the most forgotten.
What would y'all rank Julio, like, all-time receivers?
I do not know how to mention that, Falcons fans, so I apologize for bringing that specific game up, but Julio Jones was truly a different beast in his prime. Randall Cobb was a solid receiver for many years for the Packers, as he finished his career with over 7,600 receiving yards and had over 50 touchdowns with a Pro Bowl appearance back in 2014. Torrey Smith was a second-round pick from Maryland and finished 4th in receiving yards in this class, as he had over 5,000 yards and 41 touchdowns. Torrey was a 2-time Super Bowl champion, one with the Ravens in 2012 and one with the Eagles in 2017. And I think there is 2 things Torrey is most.
Oh, I totally forgot he was an Eagle, bro. Yo,
passing away in September of 2012, the night before a big week.
Yeah, RP his brother, man.
The Patriots, and Torrey told Coach John Harbaugh he wanted to play, and he went out and had a 6-catch, 127-yard, 2-touchdown performance as Baltimore beat the Patriots 31-30. He is also most known for a flea flicker touchdown from Nick Foles during the 2017 NFC Championship game. Torrey's Eagles beat another player from the 2011 class in the NFC Championship game, who is 5th in this class in receiving yards, in tight end Kyle Rudolph. Rudolph was the most productive tight end from this class, though I do want to shout out Julius Thomas.
Julius Thomas so underrated, bro.
Seasons with the Broncos, and people who had him in fantasy during that time period definitely remember Julius. But Kyle Rudolph finished his career as a 2-time Pro Bowler and actually won the Pro Bowl MVP in 2012 and was a reliable tight end for the Vikings for many years. He is best known for a game-winning touchdown catch against the Saints in the playoffs in the wildcard round in 2019, and for being a very quarterback-friendly target.
That's low-key a push-off too, bro. I'm still debating that to this day. I'm still debating that to this day, bro. That boy Mark Ingram. Man, I low-key miss him as a Raven, man. That 2019 to, like, what, 2020, 2021 span, bro?
For reference, he had just 1,605 total yards through the first 3 years. Not rushing yards, but total yards. He had a rare career for a running back where he started out slow but got better over the next several years of his career and eventually had 3 1,000-yard rushing seasons. He is best known for his 2017 season with the Saints, where he and a then-rookie Alvin Kamara had a tremendous year and combined for 25 total touchdowns. He had a really good year with the Ravens in 2019, as he had 15 total touchdowns and his final 1,000-yard year of his career. Ingram finished his career with over 8,100 rushing yards and 65 rushing touchdowns, and this may surprise you, but he actually doesn't have the most rushing touchdowns from this class. That would be Cam Newton with 75. DeMarco Murray was a really fun player for DeMarco Murray, as he was a 3-time Pro Bowler and ran for 1,100 yards or more 3 times in his career.
I ain't gonna lie, I hated playing against this nigga in Madden, bro.
3 times in his career. Murray is best known for his...
We gotta start working on angle drills, gang. Oh my gosh.
2014 season, in which he had over 18 yards. Murray is best known for his insane 2014.
Do nobody know how to tackle on this Rams defense, bro?
In which he had over 1,800 yards rushing, as well as an additional...
Yeah, Murray was an animal, though.
For a 2,200 total yard year, along with 13 total touchdowns. He was a first-team All-Pro, won the Offensive Player of the Year, and finished 3rd in MVP voting, only behind Aaron Rodgers and J.J. Watt. Murray played a single season with the Eagles in 2015 before finishing his career with the Titans in 2016 and 2017.
Where legends go to die, bro.
With the Titans in 2016, as he had nearly 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns, and there was a very brief period in time where there was a running back duo of DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. And while Mark Ingram and DeMarco Murray may have never been the best back of their generation, the 2011 class had 2 running backs have over 7,000 career rushing yards, which was more than any class in a 5-year span between 2009 and 2013. This was obviously a legendary class, but where I think it shines most is where games are won, and lost for that matter, and that's in the trenches. And this class has not just 1 or 2, but several players that I think will eventually end up in Canton when it's all said and done. We already discussed Von Miller at length, but it's not just limited to the defensive trenches either, as Dallas offensive tackle Tyron Smith is one of 4 players from this class to be an 8-time Pro Bowler. Tyron Smith
ain't he still a free agent too?
Old and didn't turn 21 until December of his rookie season, and he was a longtime starter for the Dallas Cowboys and will eventually get put into the Ring of Honor, and I would probably say the Hall of Fame too. He was an 8-time Pro Bowler and a 4-time All-Pro, including 2 first-team All-Pros in 2014 and 2016. I know Tyron missed a few games per year every season, as the last time he played a full season.
That's his biggest struggle. That's probably why he's still a free agent right now, bro. If it weren't for his injury concerns, shit, he might still be a Cowboy, to be honest.
Pro Bowler and have a guy play at least 13 games in every season for 10 straight years the way Tyron did, you are making that pick every single time, period. And for reference, he was the only offensive tackle to make a Pro Bowl from this draft class, despite 5 being selected in the first round. This class was loaded with trench play throughout, and I didn't want to skip over Aldon Smith, who was picked directly before.
Oh my gosh, this nigga right here had so much potential, bro. Dang, I want him to be so good. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Sacks in the first 2 years. Aldon was an absolute monster for the 49ers in 2011 and 2012, and he was very easily on a Hall of Fame trajectory through the first 2 years of his career. Unfortunately, he had a lot of off-the-field issues, and that got in the way of him adding from what would have been another 100-sack player in this class had he never been suspended and had he stayed healthy. Aldon had 42 sacks in the first 43 games of his career, and sure, he probably wouldn't have kept that pace up, but he was only 24 years old at the time and very easily could have been an all-time great based on how he played through those first few years. Saints pass rusher Cam Jordan is still kicking, and he's a franchise legend and a guy that as soon as he retires, they should just go ahead and schedule.
He probably got like 1 or 2 more years left on him. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Saints should start to look for his replacement.
Falcons. So what I think would be pretty cool for the Saints to do is to bring Cam back for the Falcons-Saints game the following year and induct him into the Ring of Honor at halftime of that said game. I know Cam has taken a step back specifically over the last 2 years, but from 2013 through 2022, so a 10-year span, this was a guy who missed just 2 games and a player who had 106.5 sacks during this time frame, as well as making 8 Pro Bowls. Lifetime, he has 121.5 career sacks and is a 3-time All-Pro. I think prime Cam Jordan gets forgotten about at times, but he was another really, really good pass rusher from this class. Justin Houston
just because he's on the Saints for real.
There was
but the Saints like during that time were really good with Drew Brees.
City where he was a really good pass rusher, and despite there being multiple Hall of Fame pass rushers in this class, Justin Houston actually has the most sacks in a single season from this class.
I'm not surprised, bro.
Back in 2014. 2014 was by far the best year of his career, as his career high in sacks aside from that year was 11, but Houston still made 4 Pro Bowls and had 4 seasons
also another former sacks, and he was really good with us too.
9 or more sacks. And he, like a lot of other players in this class, was a problem to deal with in his prime. Robert Quinn is another underrated pass rusher from the 2011 class.
Where the hell is he at now?
Plus sack seasons, as well as 5.
I think last team he was on was
he made 3 Pro Bowls in his career.
The Eagles, right?
First team All-Pro in 2013 and had a career high 19 sacks that year and finished 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Quinn was a really good player for a long time and finished his career with 102 sacks, and Aaron Donald, yes, that Aaron Donald, has credited Robert Quinn with helping him progress as an NFL player and help him refine his technique as a pass rusher once he got to the league. While Ryan Kerrigan didn't quite get to 100 career sacks,
this nigga is definitely forgotten for some reason, bro.
Draft, and I do think
one of the coldest white boys in Redskins history. I'm not gonna lie, bro. This nigga was cold.
His career, but Kerrigan made 4 Pro Bowls in his day and had 4 seasons with 11 or more sacks, and ultimately finished his career with 95.5. He had a tremendous career, and if we did a draft grades video for the 2011 class, Kerrigan would absolutely receive an A+ grade.
Facts.
It's just unfortunate for him specifically that there's so many great players.
So I used to watch a lot of Redskins games back then.
The defensive lineman from this draft is actually coming off of a first-team All-Pro.
When is this nigga gonna retire, bro? Real shit.
And Cam took a little while to get going.
Bro, the day this motherfucker retire, bro, I'm cooking shit on the grill. Real shit, real spill game. I'm tired of this nigga every year.
Five-time All-Pro with 4 first.
We throwing something on the grill when he retired.
He's played over 200 games for the Steelers, and the best, most complimentary way I think I could describe Cam Hayward is he is by every definition a Pittsburgh Steeler. He's a Hall of Famer, he's a great guy off the field, and he kicks rear ends and takes names later on the field.
Exactly why I can't wait for him to retire,
We've talked a lot about high draft picks in this class, and even mentioned Richard Sherman too, who was drafted in the 5th round, but there was also a center in this draft taken in the 6th round that you may have heard of named Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce aged like fine wine as a player as he made his first Pro Bowl in
He's definitely a future first ballot Hall of Famer.
Then missed the Pro Bowl in 2015, then had a combination of either making the Pro Bowl or being named a first-team All-Pro for the remainder of his career from 2016 on. While Kelce does not have the most Pro Bowls in this class, as he has 7, he does have the most first-team All-Pros with 6, which is more impressive than making the Pro Bowl in my personal opinion.
That's what I said, bro.
Jason has
All-Pros are pretty much, you know what I'm saying, the best thing you can get nowadays, other than, you know what I'm saying, a Super Bowl or something like that.
I know there were discussions about
way better than the Pro Bowl.
Having a hard time getting into the Hall of Fame, but being a 6-time first-team All-Pro is insane, and he was the best center of his era. And he is also one of the biggest draft steals of all time. J.J. Watt dominated the NFL in a way that not a lot of people have, and his peak was truly one of the highest in NFL history.
Let's make sure another Watt does not get into the NFL, bro. Because, bro, I know his dad happy as hell he went 3 for 3. Real shit. Like LeVar Ball in this bitch.
4-year span from 2012 through 2015 where he didn't miss a game and had 190 quarterback hits, 119 tackles for a loss, 69 sacks, and was a 4-time first-team All-Pro. His prime is right up there with any of the all-time greats, and unfortunately he only played in 8 games between 2016 and 2017 before having a 16-sack season.
Should have an MVP under his belt.
In 2018 as he made his 5th and final first-team All-Pro. JJ had one good last year with the Cardinals in 2022 as he had walked out on a 12.5 sack season and finished his career with 114.5 sacks, 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, and will be a Hall of Famer in a few.
How many people can say that they ended their career on a high note like that, bro?
To a Super Bowl MVP number 2 overall pick, to a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year award winner, several Hall of Famers throughout the class, and a whole lot of key contributors for that matter too. I've been wanting to do a video on this class for a long time.
And that's it?
Appreciate the NFL.
Wow, this shit went by quick as hell.
Please like and subscribe, and until next time.
That's a good ass vid, bro. I need more vids like this. I ain't gonna lie. Hey man, shit, I wanna know what you guys think down in the comments below. Y'all let me know what other NFL videos y'all want me to react to. Without further ado, I'm out.
I'ma make them feel me, make them people when they show me. And if you don't know me, I'ma make sure that you know me. hate to say it, but I really think I'm broke. But I know I'm chosen, I really know I'm chosen. I know I'm chosen. I was just lost a year ago, but now I'm focused. When good at sports, this microphone can be my trophy. Not taking drugs, I found a better way of coping.